Alright, hello everybody out there. Hopefully you guys can hear me from where I'm sitting. Well, as you can see from the title, I checked out The Last Stand, Arnold Schwarzenegger's return to the big screen. Well, as a lead anyway, not just as part of an ensemble. Uh, and The Last Stand, first of all, I didn't get a chance to see the movie actually here in my where I'm at in my hometown. I actually have to drive about an hour away to the next town, which is a much bigger city, and they have a lot more movie theaters and much better movie theaters than here. Because this theater just was not fucking playing, and it fucking pissed me off. So, fuck you, Real Six Cinemas, whatever the fuck you're called. I don't really care. But the Roxy 14 Stadium, you guys are awesome. And I'll get to another reason why they're awesome at the end of this video. But very quickly, The Last Stand, if you don't already know, it's about an escaped drug cartel leader who is in what is got to be one of the fastest cars on the face of the earth. They can go up to like 200 miles per hour. It can even outrun helicopters. And as ridiculous as that sounds, apparently that's true. There really are cars that can go that fast in real life. So there you go. And the FBI can't catch up to him. They try to block the road, but he keeps getting past them. And the last stop before Mexico is this small town in Arizona called, I believe it was called Somerton Junction, where a group of mercenaries that he's hired are building a bridge between these two canyons. On one side is America, and the other side is Mexico. And the only thing standing in his way is Arnold and a few of the townspeople that have banded together to stop the drug lord and his gang of mercenaries. And right off the bat, without getting into any spoilers, I can definitely say that I like the film, but I don't love it. It's definitely not a boring film. The action was really well done. I thought it moved at a fairly decent pace. There was never any moment where I thought it was dragging. And like I said, the action sequences are really well done. It's R-rated. They're very bloody. There are some instances of CGI blood, but it's really only two scenes where I noticed them. One scene, which is in the trailer, that scene where they're blocking the road, and these guys in these SUVs pop out with machine guns and just mow them all down. There's a little bit of CGI blood in that scene. It's you see them get shot, and it causes like a mist effect. I don't think they can do that practically, create like a mist effect. If they can, then maybe it was done practical. But I think that was CGI. They did that, I guess, because it was nighttime, and the way they shot it, I guess they thought that the mist blood effect looked cool. But there's also, in that same scene, there's a moment where a guy who gets shot and he's on the ground, he gets shot again, and it's a practical blood squib. And for the most part, it was all practical. And the only other time is this scene where Johnny Knoxville, it's in the Red Band trailer, where he shoots a flare gun at a guy and he blows up. And the reason he actually blows up is not because of the flare, it's because it lights up. The bad guy's wearing like this like bullet belt thing with shotgun rounds on it. So when the flare hits him, it lights up the rounds on his back, and you can see them spark up, and then eventually he blows up because of that. And the explosion of the guy was CGI, but afterwards, like you saw, like his arm actually I think falls on top of Luis Guzman. That was practical though, and that's the only two moments I really noticed CGI blood. But for the most part, it was practical blood squibs. It's a very bloody movie. And Arnold really for the first hour doesn't really do a whole lot. Maybe not the first hour, maybe just the first 45 minutes. He doesn't really do much of anything. It's mainly just all build up to this finale. And there's still a good amount of action in the first half, but all the action involves the drug lord and his car, escaping from the cops and escaping from the cops, and that scene in the trailer where they mow down the roadblock, and that scene in the trailer where you see him sort of he does this thing where he turns the car in front of the SWAT team truck, and the truck hits him, and because the vehicle, the car, this is the edge of the car, it's sort of like this. So when the truck hits him, it's like a ramp, and he goes up like that. And then the other truck hits that car. And one thing that's not in the movie is, you know that scene in the trailer where you see like the car like grinding up against like a railing? That's actually not in the movie. I don't know if that got cut out of the movie or if that was just filmed specifically for the trailer. But that scene where he's, you know, with the cars grinding on the side of a railing, that's never in the movie. So most of the action for the first half is really just that. Is just the drug lord evading the police. And it was well staged and it was well done. I mean, the question really here is whether or not you're going to care about any of those action sequences in the first hour. Or first 45 minutes. I don't think it's a 2-hour movie. It didn't feel like it was. And it depends on how you're going to feel about that. Me personally, I had fun with some of those action sequences, but at the same time, it's like, do I really care about any of this? This is all about the bad guy escaping. Like, why should I give a shit? But again, it was well done, so I'll give them credit for that. When it does finally get to the small town, you know, Schwarzenegger basically bands together a small group of people, one of whom is, you know, Johnny Knoxville, who's actually not in it that much. He's in it at the beginning when we're introduced to his character, and then during the climax when they need his help because he owns like this shed basically full of weapons that he calls a museum. And they need to go there to get some of his weapons, and they deputize Johnny Knoxville, and you know they make their last stand against the drug lord's mercenaries that are already there building the bridge, and when the action's there, it's really well done. You got some really fun sequences, like Arnold goes up on this roof, he tackles a guy off the roof, and in midair shoots him in the head, and they go through this awning and they land on a bunch of fucking stuffed animals. There's a scene where this guy goes into like an antique shop, and the little old lady who lives there pulls out a gun and like shoots him in the back, and the guy goes through the windshield, not through the windshield, through the window. That was a pretty funny scene. I mean, this movie really doesn't take itself seriously. There are some very serious moments, but for the most part, it has a very comedic tone to it, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind some of the humor that was there. This movie also has kind of one of the cliches that actually the Expendables 2 also had. You know how I was talking about the whole retiring cop character? Well, in the Expendables 2, it was Billy the Kid, and in The Last Stand, it's Jerry the deputy, who earlier in the movie is talking to Schwarzenegger about how he wants to get out of that town and go to Los Angeles and really work for the police force there and feel like he can really make a difference because he feels like he's wasting his life in that small town. And because Schwarzenegger's character used to work in L.A., you know, he asks if he could help him get a job over there, and our Schwarzenegger says, "Hey, yeah, sure, I'll help you." And the second this guy says that, has that little conversation with Schwarzenegger, I'm like, dude, you're gonna die, okay? If you don't die, I will be very surprised. But of course, later on in the movie, what happens? He gets shot and killed by the bad guys. Okay, what a shock that was. You know, not the retiring cop character, but you know what I mean. There's characters in movies, especially action movies, that whenever they say or do something, you just know they're not going to make it to the end. In Expendables 2, it was Billy the Kid, and in The Last Stand, it's Jerry the deputy. Okay, you know, so when he got shot and killed, I was not surprised. But yeah, I mean, the third act, you got Arnold doing some stuff. I mean, you get that scene in the trailer where he comes out with that little old school minigun. He mows those guys down. He doesn't really use it that much. He's really just in that one scene. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie was where the main mercenary guy, he's played by the actor who was, he's his character actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I don't really know. I don't remember his name, but he was Satan in Constantine. That guy. There's that scene in the trailer where he says, "Who the hell are you?" Schwarzenegger goes, "I'm the sheriff." Right before that, because they're inside a school bus, Schwarzenegger's underneath the bus, and he takes this big fucking 44 Magnum, probably a higher caliber than a 44. It looked a lot bigger. He shoots a bullet underneath the bus, where that guy's in, and the bullet goes up and it hits the guy right in the ear, and I think it blows his ear off too. And he's all dazed and everything. And then Arnold comes into the bus, and you get that line, "I'm the sheriff." And after that, he tries to reach for another gun, and Arnold fucking shoots him right in the head, blows his head off. The guy fucking falls back. That was a very badass scene. And then, of course, the finale pretty much involves a chase through a cornfield, and then the final standoff between the main villain and Schwarzenegger. Now, the villain in the movie is nothing special, just your typical generic drug lord. Not much to run home about. And their final showdown was decent. You had Schwarzenegger picks the guy up, slams him